Hey guys, welcome to today's video. Today we are taking a look at the Lisa Eldridge foundation, which I finally got. Well, not finally, it shipped very quickly. This is the box that it comes in, and there's a little seat in here for the bottle to fit very nicely, and you can keep it like this if you want. Of course, if you're ADD like me, it could make you a little crazy. I'm not ADD, but I'm a Virgo. Pretty close. Lovely presentation. Lisa did 2 videos on this. One of them is unlisted. It was on the back of the bubble packs. So when she released her lipstick, you could get a free bubble pack. Just name your tone. Fair, light, light medium, medium, all the way out. And you would get one for free. And I got one. And the back of it was one of those code things that you put your phone up to, and it gives you a video that she has online on YouTube. It's unlisted on YouTube, so I will post that below, and I'll post her other video. And in these videos she talks about what she wanted to create, how long she had been working on it, and color tones. I want to talk about color tones a little bit because she'll speak about a lot of things there that I couldn't. She also, notice there's a rooster or a chicken back. Now, this is making me nuts. This top doesn't have a click for stop, so you have to feel it to line up these edges because the edges are so unusual. It's flat at the bottom, so it's intended to just sit flat on your vanity, and to me, this is very, very reminiscent of some Donna Karan perfume bottles from years ago. Her husband was a sculptor, and he designed several of the bottles, and they were just so tactile and interesting and engaging, actually. And I would say, same here. I've never seen a perfume bottle so interesting. It is a brushed gold. It almost seems a little antiqued, just a touch. And it's really a sight to see. It's really unusual. And it fits well. It's very ergonomically pleasing. So let's talk about those bubble packs. There are 40 shades in this line, and that's a lot. And they go from very, very fair to very, very dark. Each bubble pack has 4 shades in it. So let's say you choose medium light like me. The 4 shades each have a different undertone. This is 11, and it has a golden undertone. And she's not joking, it's golden. We're going to be doing comparison swatches to a couple of my favorites that I use a lot, and you can see how golden it is. There's also olive, neutral, and red. Now I tried on everything but the red undertone. Although I have redness in my skin, I don't have a red undertone. I have surface redness, and red foundation on me really looks bad. Really, really not a good look. I found that the neutral was running green. It looked olive, and the olive, of course, was more olive. So I'm going to give you a caveat here. When I tried all these on, we had 4 or 5 days of very cloudy weather, and the light that you're working under can absolutely affect how you're viewing colors 100%. But while they worked, and they should because they were light medium, none of them were flattering on me, and I felt that this color, the golden, the 11, is flattering on me. But I was a little disappointed, and I will get another card when they're back in stock, and we'll do a full swatch party. I was disappointed that the neutral was gray-green. I see that a lot of companies do that, but since Lisa has an olive already, I would have figured the green wouldn't have been in there. So in other words, when I see neutrals in a line, and that neutral is greenish, grayish, they usually don't have an olive, and that's where the olive go. But this time she had an olive, and gray to me, and I am not a scientist, I'm not a color theorist, but to me neutral doesn't mean lacking pink and lacking yellow. It means you have both. And I like to go for neutral because I am a yellow undertone, but very little yellow. And today, you might be able to see right here, I don't have any foundation here. This skin is my palest skin, but you know, from breast up, it's the area that doesn't have any redness. And there is a yellow undertone, but it's very, very faint. And most companies don't have something that faint. And we will get into the color a little bit later on. You will see it in action. Among the claims, it can be built to a solid high-medium coverage, has a soft focus finish, and is self-setting. I agree with everything. Before we get into it, let me tell you a little bit about my skin, because that will be relevant if you are deciding, is it going to work for your skin type. I'm on the dry side. I'm normal to dry. I'm 59. And my skin is not dry per se. I don't have flakies or dry patches on my skin, but my skin's no longer producing the same amount of ceramides, collagen, elastin, oils, hyaluronic acid, all those good things that keep young skin plump and youthful. We don't produce as much when we get older, so I compensate for that by putting a lot of stuff on my face. My prep is 1 or 2 essences and a couple of serums. I usually mix them together, a C, and right now I'm mixing it with another product from Maylove called the Hydrator. Then I go on with a very light milky moisturizer, and then I finish with something a little more reclusive, but it's not heavy. And I give that a few minutes to sink in, and then I go on with my sunscreen every single day. So I'm a person who needs to test foundations with sunscreens. And I've worn this is my 5th day, but we're going to see, I think, 3 or 4, and you'll see the result of that as well. Now, a piece of footage I'm not going to show you is the very first time I put it on. I put it on without shooting because it was kind of late and the light was not good, but I couldn't wait to try it. I was wearing my Elastin all-mineral sunscreen that was not tinted. This leaves the faintest white cast, just a little bit. And so I went on with a little more coverage just to compensate for that. And I found that it looked lovely. I did use a powder on it, not because this isn't set, but because my sunscreen shines through, and it looked a little bit more than I like. Now, I don't mind some glow going on here, but it almost had a greasy kind of look, and I can't tell you why something looks greasy versus skin-like, but I can tell you that it did. So I threw a ton of powder. I used my By Terry Hydra Mist powder. Is it Hydra Mist? Hydra powder. And I usually, with my other foundations, I don't get a matte finish, but I managed to get a matte finish. So I think I put on a lot. It didn't look that great on the forehead, but it didn't look bad everywhere else. And it lasted all day long. As a matter of fact, every time I use this, which is now 5 days in a row, I've never had a problem with it wearing off. But I have to tell you, I never do. I'm not that person who gets everything, it breaks up over here. I do wear glasses, which constantly rub right here, so that will rub off. But I'm not a terrible face toucher, I guess. So my chin doesn't rub off. My chin, as a rule, like eats foundation. I don't know. But all I'm trying to say is, for me personally, I don't have a problem with longevity. And for me personally, I found there was no problem with longevity with this foundation, Celt Surprise. The second day I did shoot, I used my Can Make sunscreen, which is what I'm wearing today. And that does leave a shine. And now we'll start cutting away to footage. You can see the shine that she's leaving quite a bit. I decided to try the Too Faced Mattifying Primer. I am not a primer girl. I don't use primer. I consider my skincare to be primer. But I thought it might be interesting to see if I could mattify my sunscreen and get a different look out of this foundation. And Lisa said the finish of this foundation depends on what your finish is when you're going in. I find that's true with all foundations in my experience. And this primer is actually not drying, so I gave this a try. I didn't know what to expect because, as I said, I only own like 2 full-size primers, and I have a couple of primers that are sample sizes. I didn't really know what to expect, so I was surprised that when I was putting it over my primer areas, which were my cheek, my forehead, and my chin, that it didn't smooth on. Now, I had already tried it, so I knew that generally I can put a little here and phew, it just spreads. There's very nice viscosity. With this, it was like kind of skippy and icky. And I found that I tried, but it wouldn't go very far. So instead of going from here to here on the non-primer area, it was like here to here. It just stopped. I didn't feel like I was able to smooth it on, so I ended up finishing with a patting motion on my forehead, on my cheeks, and on my chin. I didn't love how these worked together. I can't speak for other primers, but I can say for this primer, which is more of a kind of a thick primer as opposed to a primer that really is just like a moisturizer, it just got in the way of spreading, and I didn't feel like I was able to get a beautiful blend. Because it wouldn't spread, I felt like I had to use more. I think I ended up using 3 or 4 pumps this day because I kept on having to add to kind of pat things on instead of just smoothing them on. But you'll see when I got to the sides of the face where there weren't primer, whoop, it was very smooth. The viscosity was really pretty, so you were able to, it had enough slip, in other words, to do the whole side of the face. On this day, I went on with powder products. I did a powder blush that went on like a dream. Went out so nicely, so smooth. No skipping, no pulling, no drag. Same thing when I used the bronzer, which I actually buffed into the skin. It was beautiful. It was like going on silk. There was no pulling, no dragging, nothing in the way of that brush moving, and everything went on smoothly. There were no bald spots. At the end of the day, I felt like the finish I got was very similar to the finish I got from the primer. The primer itself didn't mattify me 100% anyway, probably because I was super shiny, but this was not an application that I wanted to try again. It was a no for me. It looked nice. Interestingly enough, on the days where it's okay, a couple of hours or even an hour after I put it on, it seemed to synchronize with the skin. And, oh, no, it really looks very pretty. So that was interesting. Usually in these wear tests, I'll show you the whole application, but it's really a bear to edit it, and it ends up being 30 minutes long. So I'm trying to change things up a little bit, showing you some of it, showing you some of my thoughts at that moment, but not everything, for the sake of brevity. Once again, I'm surprised at how yellow it is when I first put it on my skin, but this is a good coverage. It's evened everything up. I even put some on my chest, and still somehow I think while the color is 100% wearable to me, when I compare it to my shoulders, I feel like I would prefer to have something a little less yellow. Then about an hour later, I came back. The light was completely different in here, and so was the color of the foundation. Before I show you this footage, though, it's very important to keep in mind that I feel my camera didn't balance. So usually you put on your camera, you sit in front of it for 15 seconds, and it just adjusts to the light it has, it adjusts to the colors. I always have the same background, and the camera reads pretty darn well. However, once in a while it doesn't. And I do feel that when I came back, I should have done a balance. And that's when I have a white card that I just put in front, and it helps the camera to readjust a little bit to kind of wipe its slate clean. And I didn't do that. And I do feel that the camera wasn't adjusted, so this looks egregiously yellow. But at the same time, you can see that there's a discrepancy between my body and what I have going on here, and whether the camera was balanced or not, it doesn't make things up, if that makes sense. So let's go to this footage. All right, it's been an hour, and I'm looking at my monitor like, whoa. Whoa-zio-oh. It's a little bit darker than it usually is in here. When I compare to my shoulders, they really have no color on them, but I think you can see that I'm fairly neutral. But I do have a yellow undertone, but it's very lightly yellow, and this seems, just looking at the monitor, like, wow, that's super yellow. I wanted to do some swatch comparisons. I wanted to do it with the bubble, but I didn't think of it until later, so we can get an idea. So these are the 3 foundations I wear the most frequently. This is the Lisa Eldridge. See how much more yellow that is than these. So what I have here is, this is the Givenchy Prism Libra Skin Caring blah blah blah. This is the Dior Natural Nude, which I haven't worn in a while because it's light for me, but I'm going to start wearing it again. That's 2N. And this one is the Makeup Forever Reboot, which is beginning to feel a little too dark for me, so I'm doing the Givenchy a little bit more. This is a neutral. The Reboot has a Y in front of it. It's a Y315, which means yellow, but it's not a lot of yellow. And this one I think is also a neutral. So while in some lighting situations it looks great, it doesn't look weird, it doesn't look odd. I mean, here's my hand, here's my face. It's not crazy off. In other lighting situations, it's like, wow. All right, you guys, I am back. This is day 3. You can see 2 things. One, I'm super shiny, and I'm a little bit more red than usual. I'm getting back into retinol, and I think my skin's a little, need to maybe pull it back a teeny bit, but perfect time to give this a try. I'm going to start with 2. I know that Lisa says a little bit goes a long way, but for me, got a lot of cover. Instead of using my fingers, I am going to use a brush. And so I'm just going to pick up a little bit. I expect that I probably won't get as full coverage with this, but I'll be able to stretch it out a little more. And I think if you don't have a lot of redness, if you don't have a lot to cover, this might be a wonderful application where you can get the sheerest amount, and then you can go in and add, which is what we're going to do. That way your whole face will have a very pretty skin-like look if you just do a little spot concealing. I'm going to pick this up and do a little bit more cheek work and get some under the eye. And it's very nice under the eye. The coverage is very decent. Now usually I put on my foundation and then I do my eyes, which gives this time to set up before we go in with other products. So before I turn off the camera, I'm just going to do a little turning for you so you can see what's going on the skin. I think it's very pretty. There is a sheen. I started with a sheen. All right, I'm back. So let's see what's going on here. Feels set. Right around here it feels a little not set, but that could be my sunscreen. So I just want to see what this powder is for me. And it's really not too shiny for me, honestly, but we're going to take it down a little bit. I'm just tapping a little bit on, and then I go on the side to feather it out so it's not super discernible. So there's still a little bit of a natural sheen there, but it's not as shiny. I think the skin looks so, so pretty. I'm wearing all makeup artists, Denona, McGrath, and Eldridge. Let's keep it in the makeup artist family. This is not really a bronzer, it's called Chaleur, and it's really a blush, but I think it works so nicely for me as a bronzer. And I'm just doing the bronzer not to look like I'm tan, but to give a little bit of life to the skin. And no problem at all, even though I didn't powder this area of my face, I just powdered over here. It's going on very smoothly, there's no drag. Very, very, very nice. And the skin looks very, very pretty. And there is my look. No mascara, no liner, no nothing. No concealer under the eyes. I think the skin looks fabulous. Yesterday I thought, I don't even need to write this down in my notes because I for sure will remember this because it was so bad. But I don't remember it now. I remember that I disliked it strongly. It's so typical of me that I didn't write notes of what I did yesterday because I said to myself, there's no way I'm going to forget this. I did use cream products yesterday. They went on fine. I used her cream products. They're cheek. I used the Tarte sea breezy as a bronzer, went on beautifully, no problem. So powder is fine, cream is fine. It's all about your application tool and your primer. Hint, don't use one. Starting with the Can Make sunscreen, which leaves the face quite shiny. I went in with the by Terry primer called the Hyaluronic Face Glow. Apply the foundation with my Chanel flat brush. This application confirmed two things. I don't like working with this foundation over a primer, and I don't like this brush. I keep on coming back for this video. I just needed a segue here. Looking at the footage, everything looked fine. It really did. It looked quite pretty until the heat got to me and I started to sweat. Alas, this is not something I'm unfamiliar with. It happens. I don't have air conditioning, so I did what I usually do. I tap, 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 tap with my finger or the beauty blender. And usually what this does is a combination of takes off that sweat and kind of re-blends the foundation. That was not the case, however, this time. All right, I've done my makeup and it is so hot, you guys. I'm starting to sweat. It's literally in the 90s, mid-November, and I'm very uncomfortable, but we'll see. This will be an interesting test. Yeah. Okay, right through here, creasing. Totally came off. Not on this side. What an interesting test. It's totally coming off my nose. Okay. So I would say that this is not just based on this moment in time, okay? It was not really planned to be a heat test, but if you start to sweat, it's not really staying. It's interesting. It's staying right here. I really kind of want to see if I can fix it up. I'm going to pick it up with a beauty blender, which I have not done yet. It's not my favorite application. And do the nose. So with the beauty blender, you get a much heavier application. It no longer has that skin-like look. This is something to investigate, you know, in the summer. Is this going to work if you are somebody who gets sweaty? So I was able to fix it, but it did not respond well to sweat. Was that because I have a primer on? I don't know. I tried many different ways of putting on this product than I usually do. So usually I just do fingers. Maybe I'll do a brush once in a while. I'll show you the beauty blender, but I never use primers, and I don't mess around that much with my sunscreens because the sunscreens that I love kind of are the same thing. This one I really mixed it up. I do not like it with a primer. You have to be careful with your powder with this, I find. I wanted to shoot this yesterday, but I didn't like the way I looked. Today, the final application, I did half with a flat brush, and Lisa sold a flat brush with this, and half with my fingers. And I did not like the flat brush. I felt, again, I couldn't get as far, and I had to build up because I wasn't getting good enough coverage in my darker areas. So I ended up using a lot more foundation. On this side of my face, fingers, one pump. This side of my face, I think I went for 2 or 3 because I only got like this with one, and then I had to do one here, and then I found, oh, I didn't get this area, so I had to add some more there. So I do think, you know, they look even. I do think it looks good, but it's $60 for a bottle, you guys. 3 pumps this side, 1 pump this side. Save your money. Use your fingers. And the battery died. So let me just wrap it up here. As far as technique, I did flat brush, fluffy brush, fingers, and beauty blender. My favorite was the fluffy and the finger. The fingers are the best. You'll use less in my experience. Builds well, comfortable on the skin, lasts for a long time. Works well with powder products, beautifully with powder products. But it's important to keep in mind that I do my eyes after my foundation to give my foundation time to set up. And it works well with setting powders if you want to get rid of your shine. Just don't go too ham because it might not look that great. As far as the colors go, I know she made the effort to hit everybody, but I don't think she hit me. That's not uncommon. Most companies don't hit me, but once in a while you find something like, yay, a color that just really works. I'm not saying it isn't flattering. I think it is. When I'm looking here in my computer/monitor, I don't see anything wildly off, but I'm also not wearing a tank top, which is neither here nor there. I did the swatches comparing to other foundations that I use. Even if my camera wasn't balanced, you could still see the difference between all these colors. Even though the light was different than it is now, there's no line as to how they relate to each other, if that makes sense. And you can see those two lower shades are neutral. Of course, one of them's lighter, it's more for winter. And the upper color is Y315 in the reboot. Y means yellow, and this relates more to the Y than it does to the neutrals. But this one is more golden. It's not even yellow, it's like golden. It has a dirtiness to it. That's what I think of when I think of golden, as opposed to yellow is like, you know, something like, remember the Kosas concealers when they first came out? It's like, it's yellow. So I will be getting another bubble pack and we'll do comparison swatches, because I know some of you aren't going to run out and buy it immediately and you want to see some information, and that's what I'm here for. So as soon as those bubbles are back, I will be doing another video and we'll be doing swatch tests, and I will try the neutral again, but I think this neutral is off. It's not what I was hoping for. I was hoping for something that has both yellow and red, as opposed to the absence of both, which can lead to gray, which is what I felt this was. It was gray-green. You guys, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really hope this was helpful to you. That's what it's about. That's what I'm here for. And I hope you come back again. Until we meet again, be safe and smart, and I'm wishing you good health.